Jim Gordon here with SmallCapPower. We're at the VRIC convention in Vancouver. I'm with Dr. John Mark Staude. He is the CEO of Riverside Resources Inc. and a guy I'd like to talk to about elections and other things that go on in Central America. I make jokes about that, but in all seriousness, the landscape of dealing in certain countries around the world, specifically we're going to talk about Mexico and Central America and South America. Talk about your history there, because it must be a patient game that you've got to play when you're moving into areas where governments can change, politics can be one thing and another thing. How has that been, and how much better does it get when you've been there for a while?
Well, it's pretty amazing. I've been at it actually 40 years, 39 years. So at that time, inflation rates was thousands of percent.
Yeah.
And I remember going and buying a candy bar, and the next day going back and the candy bar was more expensive. Really experiencing the coup d'etat, the taking over and actually having to have documents.
Yeah.
Going through the time I used to be in Bolivia. I worked in Bolivia, and I remember the time when Ecuador decided a country was going to be a national park. So when you get crazy things happen over time, right now in 2019, the landscape is a lot of social movements,
right.
A lot of emphasis, but also a real focus on capital. So we're finding a real moment in time when capital seems to be beginning to get back into it.
Okay.
And so it's interesting, the last 3 years, more and more social's been happening. And on a country-by-country basis, you can see that these different countries are each having their own elections, but the socialist person is getting elected. But then once they're elected, they're actually going more capitalistic in their actions.
And it's so interesting when you talk about countries that can be next door to each other, that Venezuela, which is imploding, can be next to a country, or a short hop away from a country that's doing very well. When you're bringing investors along, how do you calm those nerves? Because you can't predict the future. You seem to do a good job of predicting certain things, but how difficult is that? Because you are playing by their rules down there in their backyard.
It is, and so it's really locals. So in each of the different jurisdictions, if you're in as you say, in Venezuela versus in Colombia, working with the local people in Colombia and realizing that those local people have the long-term relationships. And every project I work in, whether I'm in Peru or Chile, I used to live in Chile, for example, or working in Mexico, or working in Nicaragua. We've had a small presence in Nicaragua. Local people living there and working with it. So Nicaragua was having problems this last year, but the people there understanding what they're doing, and really it's so important. So the first for investors is knowledge, having those people on the ground. I think the second thing is helping investors to see that overall the people that are in power are trying to get it going, but they switch. And so when they switch, it's realizing what are those new people going to bring to it. So getting that good information from the people on the ground.
Excellent. Listen, this is a great talk. Always enjoy hearing about your adventures, Mexico and that part of the world. It's Dr. John Mark Staude. He is the CEO of Riverside Resources Inc. And more information can be found on Riverside Resources Inc. by going to
RIVRES.com.
There you go, right there. Thanks for joining us today.
Great,
Cheers.
thank you.